Welcome to the show, Mark Organ. We
Oh, it's
are
so good to
for
be
real
here.
trivia. Great hosting you, Mark Organ, founder and CEO of Eloqua and Influitive, and now Category Nuts. How's life?
Life is great, and it's even better because I've so much enjoyed the content that you've had. This is your best summit yet, Julia. And I have learned a lot. And you can really you can see just how much more sophisticated everyone is becoming about AI and how it's used for go-to-market. It's so exciting to be here.
Pleasure hosting you. Before we start off, I know this is going to be a community and AI session. I cannot think of a better person than you to host it. You build many communities, many categories. Why are you excited about this?
That's a great question. Well, yeah, I've believed for a long time that community is really the best way to go to market. And it's for a few reasons, but one of them is actually highlighted in the last interview is just how much better the experience is for participants to be surrounded by their like-minded peers. It's such a better experience than a typical marketing and sales experience. And if there's a long time thesis I have for go-to-market, it's experience of the buyer wins. And that's part of our job as go-to-market architects, is to build great experiences for buyers. And I think community absolutely does that. Community also is effective throughout the entire buying cycle, the whole funnel, from generating awareness all the way through to driving success and advocacy. I can't think of really anything else that we do in go-to-market that has that much potential impact as what communities can do. And I believe the future really is companies are going to be community first. The best companies are actually going to be community led and community first in terms of how they go to market. So that's why I'm excited about it. And yeah, like I did write a book on it here. The messenger is the message, about that idea, and interviewed a number of great people that have believed in the same thing and executed on that idea. And excited about this panel we have, because we have a bunch of people here that believe the same thing and are done a great job in executing on this idea of using communities to drive their go-to-market. And
Awesome. Let's open
yeah,
it up. The
do
stage is
it.
yours. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Why don't we have a quick intro of everyone, like 30 seconds on who you are and why you're excited about community-led growth. Hey, let's start with Nick.
Yeah, hey, Nick Maida, CEO of Gainsight. I'm really excited for three reasons. Super inspired by everything Mark does. Number two, very passionately built our whole company at Gainsight around community, like in our own business, events, online, etc. And then number three, we got into the online community software space, so learned a lot that way too.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Lisa, how about let's go with you.
Hey, yeah, I'm Lisa Sharapata and two-time CMO, and I've been in the marketing world for a couple decades now. And back to what you originally started with, Mark, what I've seen is without a community, you're a commodity. That's something I truly believe in. The best experiences win. And so the more you can bring people together around your brand, the better.
Well said. Lee Hong.
Hi, this is Lee Hong Hickam. I'm building Dayset.io. We are AI conversational survey and interview company. Well, I'm loving the AI-led growth community here because it's very forward thinking about crazy idea about how we can use AI to advance. And I also wanted to see if people are more willing to share how they can use AI in the go-to-market space. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
That's great. Mark Stews.
Hey there, I'm Mark Stews. I'm the CEO of ProofAnalytics.ai. And I'm really excited to see how AI takes the community movement and transforms it and makes it very credible, improves the overall experience, which really is indivisible from the credibility of the community. So peer-to-peer is suffering right now. So in that regard, so I think that this is going to be really interesting to watch how AI improves that, and then the ascertainability of the community movement and its impact on go-to-market and on the business. That's the other piece that I'm personally excited about.
Awesome. And finally, I have AJ.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm AJ Gandhi. I'm a operating partner that focuses on go-to-market in private equity. Portfolio companies I work with, it's about 50 companies, anywhere from 10 million to 500 million ARR. And community is a big deal for our companies. And I sort of see community in three different areas. First, for our portfolio companies, they tend to be very focused with a very specific ideal customer profile of 2 to 3,000 accounts that they're really going after. And they're specialized businesses like service supply chain, people who run childcare centers, folks who run inventory management and e-commerce. So there isn't natural kind of real world communities that exist at scale. So community is critical in finding a way to operationalize that, in virtual channels is key. But I think there's often an issue of just getting to scale such that the community actually stays active and doesn't become a ghost town. So really excited to be a part of this discussion and involve a couple of other communities, but I'll save that for later.
Awesome. That's great. What a great panel we have. Love to start maybe at the top, maybe a little more high level. Like what do you think are a couple of the greatest opportunities in go-to-market that communities offer that maybe are overlooked out there? People really aren't seeing it, but are some of those most important benefits or opportunities that we could be pointing our communities at to do? Anyone could jump in who has a particular
I'm
point of
happy
view.
to start, Mark. I actually think that there's just a lot of niche business problems that exist out there, and there are people who kind of live in isolation of how do I get senior executives in my company to care more about this issue. So it could be, this is just sort of describing some of the companies I work with. Third-party risk management, so managing all your suppliers, service supply chain, managing spare parts for large manufacturing companies. These are actually huge business issues, but you don't have a collection of people that can kind of come together. And oftentimes they're trying to solve their own problems, but what they're also really trying to do is they're trying to get more recognition for the importance of their business issue. And they don't want to be sold to as much as they want, but what they do want is the ability to engage with peers and figure out how they're, addressing these problems. So I think that's the opportunity that community has.
Yeah, that speaks to the importance of experience and trust there, which I think a lot of companies really do make that up. Who else?
I would just stand on the shoulders of that last comment you just made and say that all the research says that AI is outstripping peer-to-peer expertise, right? If only because human beings are limited in how much they can see and understand of the entire network effect, right? And so the ability to come alongside the community at large and individual members of that community and give them better information than they otherwise would have gotten, more reliable information, and also based on the way conversations are going, to anticipate the information that's really going to be necessary. One of the things that AI really is, and it's a lot of things, okay? But one of them is it's a giant bullshit detector, right? And that will only increase. And so having an AI moderator that kind of says, hey, that was a really good comment, and you can take that one to the bank, but in a really super nice way, maybe you need to kind of rethink your position over here, is going to be really important.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will speak to a little bit of how AI and humans interact in sort of the communities of the future too. So that's great. Lisa.
I just want to kind of go back to the part though where like I join a community to learn from my peers. I can ask ChatGPT or Percolate or any of the how do you do this? but it's really great to be able to troubleshoot something with someone who's been through it before, brainstorm things, and bounce something off of other people. So I mean, what I can see happening is you've got this community, and maybe AI is helping aggregate, hey, here's a group of people who are having these challenges. Let's create a circle around that. Let's bring that to the forefront so they can have a discussion. Maybe it's taking notes. Maybe that goes into a repository later that people can go back through and find. But what I don't want to lose is like the chance to actually talk to someone who's been there and have them like troubleshoot with me in real time.
Yeah.
I agree. I just would say that it's a multiplayer experience, right? And AI is one of the big players going forward, and there's no avoiding that. It just is.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it can enrich it, right? And I think that's where I see AI really helping.
Yeah. Nick,
Is
Nick,
Yeah.
you're going to jump in there.
Yeah, sure. And then, really, Lisa, I like what you said about like AI's opportunity to suggest who you should connect with. And I thought something you said up front was so spot on, should definitely be like on a bumper sticker of like, if you're not investing community or commodity or something. I probably got it slightly wrong.
About a community or
Uh,
yep.
yeah, I love that. And I think that answering, Mark, your question, just opportunities to go to market, I think tied to what Lisa said, one of them is differentiation for sure. Like, software is a commodity, right? Like it just is. You go into, I don't know if you all have used Replit before, but even if you're not a programmer, just go on Replit and you can say, build me this app and it will build you an app. It's like, it's just magic, right? But what it can't do is help you, like you're saying, Lisa, like give you that forum to meet other people that are going through the same challenges. And the second thing, Mark, to this opportunities for go-to-market is making communities less transactional. So like the example I was going to use was like field events, right? So if we call them field events, I think John Miller would say experiences, not events. If we call them field events, and then we say, you know what, we have a field event, it's for pipeline generation. We can't have more than 10% of the audience be customers. Right. That's actually like that is, and I get why CMOs say that because they're on a traditional, like very short-term pipeline target. And then you have the end of the event, you said, how much pipeline do we generate? That's like, I mean, literally thousands and thousands of events have gone through that cycle. But I think it's very short-term oriented versus we're doing an event to connect people together. Of course, we're going to measure metrics, but we believe fundamentally that part of our job is connecting people together. And part of our value prop is that community.
Right. Yeah, no, well said. This maybe leads to the next question, which are what are the key challenges that you see in terms of how to make these communities operate to their full potential in order to generate go-to-market benefits? And this is actually why I was so excited about this panel, because I really do believe that AI in a number of ways has an ability to solve some of the issues of why we don't have every single B2B company in the world having a community. I think AI solves some of that, but love to hear from you on the bottlenecks or challenges. Maybe we'll start with Lee Hong.
I actually wanted to address like when Lisa's saying like people go to the community, wanted to interact with other peers who have been there. But I would say people, if they have trouble or troubleshoot, they more wanted to talk to people and help themselves think of a solution themselves rather than other people feed them the solution or what worked for them. So I've seen like, let's say you have a problem today, you need to solve, but the peers who are available may not have the right expertise, or the people who have the right expertise don't have the time. And the benefit with the AI is that you can actually say, pretend you are a Buddha, that, I read your book about not reacting and I have this trouble. Like I have this negative things, let's talk through things out. I think, because AI has the huge amount of personalization, a huge amount, like also real time, 24/7, and speak multiple language. I can ask it in my native language. It adds a lot of value to the experience, the user experience of the community members, because it's all time, anytime going on. But in terms of like engaging the community to make the community better or more contributing to yourself, it's like one thing is like, getting the feedback, getting the voice heard in the community. So oftentimes in the community, you hear some of the active members talking a lot, and then the other ones are more silent. So you get a feedback through the normal surveys and polls. You get a number of X number of people like AI for sales, but you don't know the why. So I think AI will be able to bring out a lot of the more why, because in today's world, there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of different opinions. It helps bring out the why of like, why do you have this opinion, and seek understanding, and actually can solve one of the biggest problems in the US is like people are fighting and this, like if we know more about the why and why they are coming up with this situation, then maybe there will be less fighting and more understanding and make the community even better. So just my 2 cents in addressing like Lisa, your opinion about AI and the community. I think I'm pretty optimistic. I think it will move to a better position if we use AI correctly.
Yes.
So how do we make these communities more effective? I know from my experience in building sort of revenue focused go-to-market communities, a lot depended on the skill of the community manager and the energy of that person. And there's a lot to do. And this is where I see the value of automation and AI. I'd love to hear from you folks in terms of, challenges to making these communities maximally successful, and what we need to do in order to address them. Like, pick somebody.
I think it just really, a lot of it. I mean, if you talk to people that are active in communities, they will baseline the performance of the community, certainly by the moderation, right? But also about the quality of the participation, right? The problem that everyone is coming into right now, and it's broad-based across many different industries, is that things are moving so fast, such high velocity change, such volatility in the environment, that what was once known, okay, is not exactly known today, right? And so the value of AI as kind of an eye in the sky super moderator of communities is going to be really key, because it's going to bring a cohesive view of information, not just one person or two people or three people's primary viewpoint.
Right. Yeah, that's super interesting point around, really sort of creating a super moderator, who armed with so much more information about and insight about what's really going on in the community. So I think that's exciting.
I mean, I'll give you a real life example real fast. I've had a meeting with LinkedIn, right? They estimate that 2/3 of the content on any given day is factually incorrect. That's a huge issue in that community, right? So the ability to separate wheat from chaff helps everybody.
Right.
I can see a potential amazing use case. Like imagine we have a super Nick Meta, right? Nick, you are one of the best community creators. When you're on the stage, you just light up the audience and stuff, but we can't have you 24/7. Imagine we make a female version of you as like a AI community manager, but sings Taylor Swift, right? Have your energy, your charminess. That would be fun. It's best of both worlds, where you can have the personalization, the instant connection with the AI, the model after someone who's really good at A player. And then you also have the personal touch, maybe in the offline conferences where you can meet in person. But I think any community that's good. I haven't seen a community that is only digital and no in person that work well. I don't know. That's just I haven't seen. I don't know if AI can change that. I want to hear other people's thoughts. It's like, do you think, you know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
old
I
school
think
of
that they,
engaging? Yeah.
oh, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, well, I was only going to respond to like the first part of what you said is the most dystopian view of AI I've ever heard is that AI Nick that sings songs. So that's definitely
Taylor Swift.
very scary future. We should definitely regulate AI if that's what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
on like why do communities fail and how does AI fit into this? Like Clearly, and I think other folks have said this too, this issue where a community becomes a ghost town is a major problem, right? Like this is where, we have community software and the customers that are not successful, it's largely because a community becomes a ghost town. And I think part of that is actually like historically, and there might be solutions folks here on the panel have, like most executives don't go to communities online. They like just don't, except for LinkedIn. They'll go on LinkedIn, but besides that, they won't go anywhere. And so I think there's this issue where communities are very good for practitioners, online communities, but they're not as good for executives. And is there something in the future that could use AI to be more effective for executives? And then final comment I make for Mark, I think you're right about LinkedIn having lots of spurious content. And if all the content on a community like LinkedIn is AI generated, it will just become a nightmare. Nobody will want to read it because it'll just look like a different kind of spam. And I can already, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I can see a ChatGPT authored posts on LinkedIn. You can tell still like that they were written by AI. And so I don't have the answer, but I do think in a world where AI is writing everything, what happens? Like, do we actually still want to engage with it? So I've asked questions. I don't have good answers here, but it's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, no, really interesting point. And I'll challenge the idea that executives won't come to community, and actually executives do come to your communities, Nick. I've been to
In
a number
person.
of,
So I meant online
yeah.
community.
Yeah, no, online. Yeah, no, for sure. In person, I've been to a number of your events. But so we created a whole bunch of communities that including some that were only had C-level people in there. And I think the reason why, and I think the reason why they worked probably speaks to what we need to do with AI and with the design of our communities. And actually, John Miller had three great points in terms of where the marketing of the future is going, and I echo the same ones. One, experiences; two, relationships; two, originality. So if my experience, if you create a community that where the experience is great, where people are going to form new relationships and they're going to hear something original, you will get people to go there, online or offline. But that's hard to do. How do you create great experiences with original content and allow people to form relationships? Like that requires exceptional design, I think, firstly, in order to do that.
Mark, have
And
you seen examples of where people have done that successfully with AI? Because you go through those three elements that you just highlighted, none of those feel naturally kind of virtual or AI driven. Experience. The second, I think you said relationships, and then the third was kind of originality. Um, how do you do that with AI? I can tell you how
that's
you do it in the real world.
that's a great
Actually,
that's
John's point
yeah.
was that is the places that AI won't transform
I see.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I
But
agree.
but it
I
may be
agree.
helpful though. Like there may be, I think AI may be an adjunct to perhaps help with originality. That may help with, but I think
Well,
it
it
starts
could
with probably
free
great
up
design.
the manager's time to be more creative and create more original experiences because they're not doing all the administrative work and not having to onboard everybody and all the, kind of stuff that's
Yeah.
takes up a lot of time right now. So yeah, I mean, I think AI again can like totally make communities better in a lot of ways, but I keep going back to like the original reason why people would join a community, and the form needs to follow function. Like people want to belong, they want to learn from their peers, they're looking to network. So how do you make that better? And I don't think you can totally swap out like a, a human generated AI to do that in a lot of communities. There might be some that's the right thing. Like I just saw Jocko from Winning by Design, and he's got this new like sales bot that's him and can engage like a person. And I think like that's great in sales. And most people don't want to talk to an actual person until they're in the final stages of buying anyway. But like in the community part, most people are joining that for for the camaraderie and for the community to actually work. There has to be contribution from like both sides. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating to consider the options, but I still think it's got to go back to like, why do people join? They want the experience of belonging.
So to that very point, right? there's a lot of research on this that indicates that while people join communities for many different reasons, including camaraderie and all that stuff that we all appreciate, right? That their participation in a professional community is usually about de-risking something, right? They're going out to everybody and saying, hey, I'm thinking about X, Y, or Z, right? Has anybody experienced this? Has anybody encountered the risks? How am I likely to get bit here? You know, stuff like that, right? That's a big part of this. And that's where the reliability of the whole community experience becomes so critical, because it's not just a social club, right? It's not your local, right? It has a purpose for existing. So I think that we can't lose sight of that.
I think one thing, Mark, and just what I've seen, because I understand what you're saying. It's a good point. Like, if you go on Reddit and you're trying to solve a problem, you get a lot of random answers that might not be accurate. So your point's valid. And if you go on Reddit, you'll see tons of people are there just to like find other people that are like them. Like I'm a big believer of part of communities belonging. So I don't think everyone that goes to community, at least in our experience, is there to solve a problem. I think some are, like what you said is right. I think
Yeah, no,
some
I'm
of
not
it's yeah.
primary, right? I mean, I'm just saying though that if you look at how pressed the average person is in their time schedule, right? If they have to choose between real life social environments, right, and something digital, they're going to probably go to a bar or something like that, right? They're going to have a good time. But if they have a specific question that they're trying to de-risk, they're going to go to what they believe is a locus of expertise, and they're going to try and get the answer, right?
I think the last part I agree with. I think the thing again, I think it's always an and, not an or, but I
Yeah.
think the first part I don't think is universally true. I mean, I think you can just see it like, younger folks where they don't go to bars. Like they don't want to, they go on Reddit and Discord and TikTok, and that's their whole life. We can decide debate in a separate form if that's good or bad. And, that's not the point. It's that like, there's a reason why so many people on Reddit. And I'll admit, like for me, sometimes those online interactions are nice. They're like you get to just you get your answers, talk to people, etc. And so what I've just found is belonging in community is a big part of it. Problem solving is also a big part of it. Like and I think you're saying that too. It's an and, not to
Yeah,
not.
I am.
Yeah.
I am very much saying that. I do think though that if you're the CFO and you're under pressure, you're going to start asking questions about how much of the community existence is to make people feel good as opposed to sell.
Good point.
And the truth is you need both, right? If people
You
don't have a
do.
sense of belonging, they're not going to join. They want to join something bigger than themselves. They want to feel like they're contributing. And if they do feel good, then you may get more activity from them. And I think that's why both,
Hmm.
why you're both right. And that was sort of a foundational idea for me behind Influitive. But I'd love to get more back into like AI and design. So in order to have a community that works very well, you need to have great design. We talked about experiences. We talked about original content. We talked about being able to form real relationships. That's what makes communities truly exceptional and drive results. And AI may be helpful for that, but you need great humans and great design. Um, where where can AI really play a potentially transformational role, and what can't it do? Like what will we need the humans to do and step up to do?
I'll jump in. I think like Nick mentioned, like a lot of online community becomes a graveyard because it's not engaging. But if you think about going to an online community as like part of your job, like it's gonna be hard to convince yourself to go in there and engage, and then maybe on the day you have problem. So if we can add some more like personalization and interest, so let's say you go to a CFO club where sure at work you're a CFO, but also maybe you like to play golf or maybe you like to go skiing, right? So I think AI helps. We can use AI to get a more personalized information about the members' interests and hobby, and then we can have a CFO group who like to do golf and who live in West Coast, and that will maybe enhance. Maybe we can organize a better event with a small group, face-to-face meeting, so that way it becomes like it's our community. It's like it's kind of bad. Like sometimes you can't separate work and life, but is how one of the ways you can engage people. Like this is their interest. They love engaging with the people who are similar careerly interest in a life stage. So that's my take on like
Yeah,
how AI
that's
can
cool.
help.
Yeah, use it to increase engagement, like whisper in a moderator's ear, say, try this. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I would even add like personalization and curated content and back to like once you learn about that person, when they come in, they're filling out a form, they're giving you a lot of information. And I feel like today that might go in their profile, but it's not really being utilized in a way that's really going to make their experience better, help curate an experience for them within the community that's really valuable. And then on the flip side of that, you might have internal webinars or circles or discussion groups. And I mentioned this, but I see it all the time where there's a great conversation and it dies on the vine. It's this one isolated thing that happens when that could be something that then starts populating a content repository or resource hub for people. And if you've got one person running the community, there is just like no way they can do all that. But if you've got AI helping, curate all that and put it into like usable use cases, I think it will really start to enrich the experience.
I agree. Slam dunk. That's great.
Yeah, I think the hybrid helps a lot. I mean, I've run a bunch of conferences. I run roundtables for our CMOs, CROs, CCOs in our portfolio. And whether the frequencies, a conference every 6 months or a roundtable every 4 weeks, there's all this engagement that spikes up, but then there's no way to continue the conversation, and there's not enough. What my experience is, there's just not enough kind of engagement that the online community maintains its momentum. It's what was just being shared by Lisa. It'll spike for a while, but you generally don't have enough volume in there that you've got a community moderator who's going to be responding to it. And if you don't get that immediate response, then you're less motivated to post. And so I've got a community of 500 executives within my firm. And the online community, we're more ghost town land, even though we do 25, roundtable or best practice sessions per year.
Wow.
I think that's a
think
good.
AI can help moderate.
It's a really good point because Adrian, because I've been to your events and they're awesome. And like the online, even for us, we've tried different executive online CCO type communities. And I think part of it is very simple. What you said, it's the N, the number of people, because the great thing about LinkedIn is there are just so many people. So even if most people aren't active, enough people are active. And if there's enough people active, then you have a desire to go, engage. We all know how social networks work, right? And so I think this is the problem. 500-person community, especially if it's executive, you're not going to get engagement.
Yeah.
So that's a
Even, I
challenge.
mean, the probably the smallest community that I see active would be the CMO Coffee Talk, and that's about 5,000 people in the community. And they meet every week. And what I actually think Matt Hines has really done a great job of that. I don't know that he's using AI yet, but that would be an interesting conversation to have with Matt.
That's funny. I actually started that with Matt when I was at
Oh,
Six Sense, and it started as a CMO breakfast tour. We had 8 cities, and the last two were Boston and New York, and COVID hit, and we went online. And the rest is history. But I think what really has helped is Six Sense has done also a good job of, like, when they're in Austin for the Forrester event, they have a CMO experience within their bigger VIP experience. There's always a component of that in person. And so they've got this consistency and this engagement, and they've done a good job of like marrying up some, in-person components of that with online, and it's consistent, and there's just, they're they've just kept the cadence going.
Yeah.
So they've got the engagement.
Yeah, no, and I think that's probably an area where AI, I think, can help the most is driving consistent engagement, just multiplying the ability to engage, multiple folks at once. So I think that's a great case study. And speaking of case studies, it'd be great to hear a success story that you guys have had either for your own company or for any of your customers in terms of some fabulous business value that, communities have generated. Um, and whether or not you used AI, I know, AI is still relatively new in terms of how we're applying it for community. I know that one that comes to mind for me, I actually just went skiing with Freddie from Okta, and when he told me is that his communities actually was one of the key things that helped him go public before his competitors. And one of the reasons why is that his community members actually designed some award-winning ads for the company that, frankly, to this day, I can't understand them because they're for network engineers. But it just speaks to the power of what you can get your customers to do, and in some ways, maybe your customers might understand you better than your own marketing department. But that was a big success story. I was very excited to hear it. But I'd love to hear from you guys in terms of success stories and business value, or like what was the problem that you had, and then how did community help solve that problem, and what kind of metrics came out of it?
We have a client actually that has done something really super badass, really. It has given their community a mission of improving an LLM about the topic that everyone is focused on, right? And so the community actually not only gets to contribute, but to memorialize their contributions, right? And they have gamified the contribution frequency and quality and all this kind of stuff. And so there's kind of a leaderboard and, all that kind of thing. And so in this rather, delineated space, right, they have really created the authority, right, on that particular topic, and co-authored by the community.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Then let's jump in here with a big success story.
I can share a couple briefly. Gong, we work with them, and they have a great. Everyone knows Gong, right? And so they've got a great community of sales professionals across different levels. And what I love about what they've done, there's a woman named Nisha Bakshi. If you're on Nisha, shout out to you. But she runs their community, and what they've done is created community as like an integrated customer destination versus a one-off kind of thing. That's one of the challenges people have with communities is they're often to the side. So effectively, like there's a support portal, there's somewhere to get help and documentation, there's a take place to take training, and like Gong is integrated that really nicely. And so they have tons. I was just looking at the stats, like they have 12,000 active users. They've got like massively higher upsell for people that use community. So they do a great job. And then for our own business, we've built a really nice community that's very focused on product feedback and product interaction. And I think that's one of the other things, Mark, that you know all about, which is community for advocacy versus community for self-service support versus community for connection. And in our case, it's really community for product related feedback and issues, what you might call like your classic community. But one of the things that's really cool, I remember seeing this post where the person said, this is like a kind of multi-time Gainsight operations person. He said, this community makes me feel less alone. I was like, oh, tug at the heartstrings. That's so sweet. And there's an interesting element there where it's technical people, they're trying to solve problems, but they also feel belonging. Like, so it's kind of a nice and to what Mark has been saying and Lisa and others.
Mhm. Awesome. Anyone else on that? Yeah, no, the product use cases are actually really powerful. I think it's one of the under leveraged aspects of communities is using it for insights in terms of how to go to market better, how to build a product better. Anyone else in terms of big go to market success? Anybody using it to get prospects and customers together? Anyone using communities to drive a better prospect experience, because I think that's a big opportunity that I really don't see enough companies doing. I envision in the future where companies are going to drive people to their community instead of a website or a landing page, because it's more trusted and it's a better experience for people. Is anyone doing anything like that?
Is that with or without AI, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, with or without. I mean, again, I think AI is still pretty young
Yeah.
here, but
Well, I look
for
like you
any
guys
AI story, I'd
started,
love to hear.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. When I was at Salesforce, I mean, this is one of the key plays. This is around like 2010, where CIOs were still wary of the cloud. And so we had a team, Ross Piper and Simon Mulcahy, who built a CIO roundtable program. And it was a big roadshow all throughout the world where you get 12 to 18 CIOs around a table. You'd make sure there'd be a handful of customers and a bunch of prospects, and they're just experience sharing. And it just the biggest thing in community that I've seen when you do these kinds of executive type roundtables and sort of think tanks is you accelerate the buyer's journey. And so we're doing that with a number of our companies in our portfolio right now. I mentioned this service supply chain company. And so, yeah, we're just following that formula and taking it to top 5 cities, and it works super well. I think the 6 cents formula that they're running right now with Matt Hines for CMO Coffee Talk works super well. Also, it's not an explicit 6 cents community, but 6 cents' influence and engagement is all over it. So it just has become a natural extension. But because you have an external party that's running it and does it in an authentic way, people feel comfortable in the community, and it just sort of again naturally draws people to the 6 cents brand and accelerates the buyer's journey.
Well, I'll
Yeah,
share my perspective on the startup perspective, because most of companies who have a community are already at scale or have a large volume of customers. You can have the brand effect. So if you are a startup, and then how do you engage with the community? Like you don't have enough resources to create your own community. So for us, we were like, well, that's not bite up too much than what we can do. Instead of like building another graveyard community, why don't we join active engaging community and be an active member of that? So I've identified 2 community that I personally will pretty actively engage. Well, one of them is this AI that grows Julia's HSE community, because everyone here is very AI focused, willing to embrace new technology, and a lot of them are go-to market leaders who want to get new AI techs. So I ever since Julia reached out to me a couple months ago, we've been active in the community. And then another group of community that for startup that we often hang out is in Product Hunt. So if you look at Product Hunt, the top 10 Product Hunt every day is AI products. So it's full of AI enthusiasts who is excited about how do we make the generate AI or AI technology more applicable and make it, new softwares, a new system that replace existing non-AI products. So we've been dedicated to do like a 2 product hunt every year. So that's the maximum amount they allow you to do. So kind of engage with our audience. Every time we roll out new product based on the feedback. And they actually, if you are trying to get product feedback, Nick, like product hunt people are really good at giving product feedback. Really, really solid. Like in a period of 1 week of like crazy launch, you get tons that you would spend months, a year together. So you accelerate your growth really well. So I'm just saying like community is a very powerful tool. Even if you're a startup, you don't have the resources to build your own community, that's attached to an existing vibrant community and be an active member there.
yeah. No, I think that's right. I mean, I think startups should all invest in community, even if they have their own community. It may not be powerful in the beginning, but there's a greater community, as you put it. There, your prospective customers and customers are everywhere. They're on LinkedIn, they're Product Hunt, they're on Reddit. And how do you connect all of those together? And maybe in the future, AI has a role to play there in sort of stitching together that greater community.
I was gonna say I've tried to kind of growth hack that a little bit in a couple of communities, and you can have AI like listening in, let's say, a Slack channel and be listening for the kinds of problems that your organization can help solve. So I was trying to get like our account executives set up to be, listening for what's going on and be able to pounce in. And then the whole idea would be, well, hey, we've got another customer who's in that community. Can we have them jump in and like help advocate and answer that question? So it's not salesy, but it's a lot. But I think AI is something that can help with that. But then I think it loses its authenticity as a community too. And so you've got to be really careful, like how much of that's going on, because I think if I was the community owner, I would not want that going on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's a great segue to what I think maybe one of the most valuable parts of our talk today, which is, where is AI overhyped with respect to what, and I think today, and again, I keep saying AI, but there's multiple types of AI, as we know, which we haven't even got into yet. But where is AI kind of overhyped in terms of what it will actually deliver? And I mean, every technology always has overhype somewhere. Remember the Segway that was supposed to take over all of transportation? Didn't.
Mhm.
But then where is it underhyped? And even, the Segway has taken over a lot of city tours, for example. A lot of people now use it for that. But where have we just scratched the surface of what AI is capable of doing? I mean, specifically within communities. Love to get your takes on that. I gotta start with Mark Stews. I know it's something you think about a lot, talk about a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of evidence that says that AI, all four types, not just Gen AI, are overhyped at the ground level. In other words, at the tactical level, at the, kind of like daily life and work level, it's overhyped, right? I think where it is dramatically underestimated is at the network effect or systemic level. I think clearly one of the great, maybe even the most powerful contributions that AI will bring to business over the next, say, 3 or 4 years tops is unprecedented levels of transparency and accountability in every area of it, right? Stuff will either be known or be knowable, right? And I don't think any of us are really totally prepared for that reality. But it's kind of shrinking the zone of what is ambiguous, right? There's going to be a lot less room to maneuver in some areas of life and work, and then in other ways, it's going to open up new vistas that are kind of difficult for us to even imagine right now. But I think it's all happening so fast that may also be one of the things that's truly underestimated, is just what a sharp knife this is and how quickly it moves through operations. It's pretty amazing.
So again, what you think is underhyped is the, I guess, zeroing in on what is really knowable and what it's not knowable. Who knows what they're talking about? Who doesn't know what they're talking about?
I don't think a lot of people are thinking about it in that way right now, like the big systemic ramifications of it. I mean, like one of the really interesting things that actually I'm getting ready to launch a business on is the convergence between the transparency and accountability of AI, the judgment or the ruling 2 years ago in Delaware that's just now filtering through, that broadened out fiduciary duty from just where it had been in the board level and CEO, CIO, or CFO to all officers and their directs, personal liability, and not just like, did you intend to do something bad, but did you fail to mitigate risk appropriately? And then the increase in shareholder, particularly activist shareholder, but broader than that, lawsuits, right? So the convergence of those forces is going to be really profound, because until AI came along, there wasn't really an enforcement mechanism, and fiduciary duty had a really high bar. but no more.
I can add some sense here. So since we launched our AI conversational survey, I've organized several surveys. One for Julia for AI go-to-market teams, people's opinion about tools. One for Jonathan, AI go-to-market. He sells AI courses. So what I see with this, there's this, I think AI is very dramatic. There's a big gap in between. So on the upper end, people are very hype about this advancement, all this potential, but in the application part is pretty, it's not like as there's a lot of room to catch up. So for example, what I typically see is people are talking about, well, how do you envision AI in transforming your go-to-market strategy in 12 months? Okay, I can tell you AI is very good at automating routine tasks, making the human manual work more efficient. So it's really good at improving efficiency, but it's not yet in terms of impacting your decision-making strategy side. So that part is, there's a gap there. And the second gap is
Well,
like
but you're talking about Gen AI, right?
Gen AI, yes.
Analytical, causal, right? All that stuff is all about decision making.
That's right. That's right. But I'm still talking about in the application size of go-to-market leaders
Right,
that
but Gen AI,
in
yeah.
their opinion, they are using AI just to improve efficiency, not as much for making decisions, which there's a huge opportunity for you because there's a gap. There's things people haven't done. What another gap I would see from the survey results is that when we ask how confident are you in using AI in your daily job, what I found overwhelmingly, C-level execs are the most confident. I mean, and then the individual contributors are the least confident. So there is a big gap in terms of like, who's more willing to use that. And then, a group of people still trying to catch up on what needs to be used. And the three thing I think in terms of underwhelming part is that the this is part where AI is overhyped. It's like AI cannot replace your business. The business is still the same. If you're a SaaS business, it's still your SaaS business. AI is just one of the tools that maybe you don't need to raise as much money because you can run a business more efficiently. But there's also problem where entry barrier to entry for the market is a lot lower now. Now you have a lot more competitors. So it's not like AI solve everything. It's similar. What I see is similar to like when we adopt the cloud, when we adopt the mobile. Now we adopt the AI. It's still the same shit, right? You just have to. It's a tool. It's not like a holy grail. You get the AI. You do that. You still need a strategy to driven and use this tool right away. So those are the three things. From this reading about a couple hundred survey response, I was kind of surprised. And then I think about it, it's like, okay, that makes sense, makes
Yeah.
sense. It's
No,
surprising, but it makes sense.
yeah, it really is true. My observation of just how technology is adopted, like the old technology almost never goes away. I mean, apparently radio advertising hit its all-time high, last year. The telegraph didn't get abolished till like a decade ago. If you look at like how the military works, like the same units that were used in ancient history, infantry and cavalry, I guess, replaced by tanks, but artillery, still the same, right? You keep adding things, but you just the goal is to figure out how it all kind of works together. And my guess is AI is similar, is that in some ways transformative, but in other ways not transformative at all, because you're right, it's still a business. So I think that's a really interesting comment. Someone else jump in on underhyped and overhyped AI in communities.
Well, okay, I was going to make a broader comment, Mark, so I'll just make it quickly. Look, I think the way to think about it is in a business, you still have the same use cases and business processes. Just the question is, what role can AI play? And in some places, it can automate. For example, in handling customer support, it can handle a lot of manual work. At other places, it's about augmentation. Hey, I'm going to be able to do content and I'm actually going to be able to personalize it more to the industry, the persona, maybe the company, and even the individual person. So that's a huge augmentation. But that same objective, that same business process, that same use case still exists. You've just got a new tool, just like you got a mobile phone or a cloud, the cloud, or even like a car that actually made you much more effective at doing that work. And so I don't know, that's the way I think about AI. The one challenge I have is like I was on a CRO call earlier this week, 100 CROs, and the conversation was about how's it going in 2025 to kick off the year. The whole conversation was about AI. It wasn't about differentiation and positioning. It wasn't about ideal customer profile. It wasn't about sales rep effectiveness, expanding new customers, value selling. Everyone was just talking about AI tools. I'm like, you guys are lost. That was
Yeah,
my viewpoint.
It's a
So think about
honeymoon
the use
phase
case.
of the AI, right? It's a
yeah.
honeymoon phase. We're still
It rem
here. It will
reminds
go
me a lot
away.
of, I mean, when I started Eloqua around 2000, everybody was talking about the internet and websites and whatnot. Um, but, the most effective companies were actually hanging back and thinking, well, what's this thing really for? Um, and I guess that's kind of what I was getting at with the underhyped maybe part of this is what's the AI really for? What is its unique advantage? And how does it really transform
So
things? Like,
I think I
yeah.
think that one of the things that's really important about that is that it's a very rare functional person, meaning in some function in the company, who knows enough about AI to be able to correctly apply it,
Mm.
right? And the problem also is it's kind of like if you ever taken calculus, right? If you get sick and you miss 2 classes, you are screwed, right? Because you are so far behind and the steps build on steps, right? And so this is the classic tension in a lot of companies is that if they don't get moving with it, with people who really know what the heck they're talking about, they're going to be too far behind the ball before they finally wake up, right? And then that involves risk on their part, right? And so there's this great tension, particularly I'm saying this loosely, okay, in an EPS driven business environment, right? Um, that's a challenge for a lot of business leaders, right? Because it's expensive to do AI and to move ahead quickly. So that's some of the real life aspects of it.
Right.
I think it's your classic hype cycle, right? And right now, everyone is, myself included, blown away by the possibilities and just trying to wrap your head around what is what is the capability. And then I'm seeing people just throw AI agents at things. That's where I'm like, back to your point, AJ, of well, what is the business case you're trying to solve with this, and what would the appropriate solution be, and where does AI fit into that? But until people really understand the full power and potential of it, I don't think we're going to have those answers. It's going to take time.
I'll chime in. And I think there's a lot of good points being made, but just for fun, I'll red team the whole group. AI is overhyped nowhere. Generative AI is overhyped nowhere and is underhyped everywhere. And again, I'm the extreme Kool-Aid drinker in the rabbit hole. Probably will never get out of the rabbit hole. You'll call me to check on me every now and then. I'm probably on ChatGPT or Claude or something. But it's I think a couple things. I just wrote down a few points. There's no doubt it's the fastest evolution of progress in the history of humanity. Nothing has ever moved this fast. So if you follow a trend line, it is insane. I mean, just read Altman's posts, right? They're constantly like, basically we have to go a little slower because we have to be careful. You read Dario for Anthropic, he's worried like these are the folks that are working on it at the forefront. They wouldn't be slowing down if they didn't think this thing was so transformative. I think that like when I look at what's going to happen in B2B, just for me, I think a lot of this comes down to how can we play like chess many moves ahead, and that's very hard. Actually, I looked online like if you play chess 10 moves ahead, the number of possibilities 10 to the 30th power, which is like in unimaginable for a human. But if you play chess like even 4 or 5 moves ahead, it's a lot of possibilities. And so what's multi moves ahead look like in this conversation? Well, AI will help people generate content on communities. A lot of the content on a community will be AI generated. It will largely be from other content. It'll be authoritative, but it won't be that authentic. What do I think could happen? Potentially, who knows, is more in person. Like basically more interest in authentic communication because everything else could be fake. Well, when I say fake, that's not accurate. Everything else could be artificial. And so, like the analogy some people have used, which I think is really interesting, is AI surpassed humans in chess many, many years ago. You guys mostly know that, right? But people still play chess because it's fun and there's another human across the board. I'm not coming with this analogy. Other people came up with this, by the way. And so I think there's some version of this, which is like community will exist in offline forums because we want to meet other people. But online we have to rethink it because everything's going to be spam. It's a lot like you were saying, Lisa, about all the agents, right? So agents for sales, right? We're building agents for CS. But if all the agents are communicating with customers, and if the customer has an agent as a vendor management agent or procurement agent or whatever, what is actually happening? There's no human on either side of the equation, So I don't think these are 5 years away. I think these are like very soon. And so that's why I think we have to get really thinking about these problems, hence the chess analogy.
So
Awesome.
Nick, I gotta ask
Wait,
this.
bring it all home. Hey, Julie, are we good? When are we?
Oh, we're up on time, huh? Yeah.
Phenomenal conversation. Thank you so much, Mark, Nick, Lisa, Mark, Lee Hong, and AJ. Let's do a quick round of shameless plug, just promotions. Mark, let's start with you. Where do our people go? Is it Category Not? Where do we support your work?
Yeah. So www.categorynos.com. That's my website. You can find me a lot on LinkedIn, probably the most at Mark Oregon, and love to interact with you, especially anything around communities and AI. It's top of mind for me right now.
Our pleasure. Nick, how about
Yeah,
you?
Gainsight.com, find me on LinkedIn, and then Lee Hung has built an AI version of me as well, as what you said, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
so check that out.
Taylor
Lisa.
Swift version of that's pretty funny.
I'm just trying to, because you talk about Taylor Swift songs all the time. I was just like, can we have a Nick Meta version to sing Taylor Swift songs? Oh, it's pretty funny.
Lisa.
I'm still waiting on my AI version, Lee Hong. I'll have to talk to you about that offline. So LinkedIn is the best place to engage with me.
AJ.
Yeah, sure. So LinkedIn, but I actually have a invitation only executive community for go-to-market executives and BCPE people. It's gtmleadersociety.com. And we host um, uh, really high-end experiences like omakase dinners, big pay events for senior executives to connect in real life.
Amazing. Mark.
Mark Stews, Proof Analytics. You can find me all over LinkedIn. I tend to focus mainly on causal AI as well as its implications for executive level and other levels of decision making, right? So that's where I tend to concentrate.
Thank you so much. And Lee Hong, we'll see you, I think, in 2 hours or so.
In 2 hours, yeah. So again, best way to reach me is LinkedIn, but I'm also active in Slack channel with HSE. So if you usually at the end, if people say, "Hey, can I get a copy of the surveys?" I'll pin me, I'll post it there, or pin me on LinkedIn on that. So in about 2 hours, an hour and a half, I'll show you what your voice said.